Hello and welcome to Let's Go Speaks. Today is Wednesday, May 13th. This is episode 271. That may be the first time in like several months I've gotten all three of those things correct. So I'm just gonna, I'm Mimi Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. I want to send a big shout out, I just realized, to patrons of the podcast. I have not sent out your prizes yet, nor have I contacted you, because I usually just wait until you, I feel like I've, in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, that's about everybody who's responded. But it just occurs to me that, that's been 2 weeks ago, so I'll get on that. Thanks. I am currently wearing my Trelawney shawl, which is a pattern by Tyne Swedish, who is the cleverest stitch on Instagram, and it is knit with MadelineTosh Wicked and another crafty girl in her silky sock. It's very lovely. I'm also wearing something that I made myself for Mother's Day. I'll talk about it at the end of the podcast in case you're not interested in the sewings at all. I feel you. So I'll talk about that at the end. What else? Look, I have a little list of things that we should talk about. Annie's just looking at me like I'm confused. But do you want to come say hi? You never want to say hi, but do you want to come say hi? She's like, do you want to come say hi? Yeah. Do you want to say hi? No, I don't. There she is. There's our Annie. She's such a good dog. She's upset because the neighbor is mowing their grass and it makes her a little anxious, I think. It's okay, Annie. Outside makes me anxious too. So yeah, this week, since we talked last, Mother's Day has happened. I had a very lovely Mother's Day in which I did not leave the house. That's usually a treat, but now it's just kind of normal. Actually, it's always kind of my normal, to be honest. I sewed myself a dress. My husband was like, I thought you were supposed to be relaxing. And I was like, well, I am relaxing because I am treating myself to sewing myself this dress that I wanted to sew. So I did that. I enjoyed coffee with my new bird book. Oh, I should have brought that over. We could have talked about that, right, Annie? Okay, I'm gonna go get it. I'll be right back. So I requested this book. I have to request explicitly. And in fact, order it myself and, all that stuff. What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Allen Sibley. What? Okay, I am enjoying this very muchly, and I think it's a great book for distracted pandemic brain because it's like you're a kid and this was the science book you wanted. There's lovely illustrations. There's just snippets of interesting information. So you can just pick it up, turn to whatever page you want, and there's going to be something interesting that's only going to take your brain a few minutes. That's the sapsucker. Whoops, wrong page. That's the sapsucker. Did you know that they make their marks so evenly? Right? Did you know that they actually do eat the sap? I thought that was just like a lily-livered sapsucker. I didn't know that was a real thing. So you just pick it up and enjoy a beautiful illustration and some information about birds. Not just North American birds, but just generally birds. It's highly enjoyable. I found out that snipes, which are like a shorebird, and many other birds that are kind of that would nest in open spaces, actually have 360 degrees vision and 180 degrees overhead. So they can, if you cut a dome, if you cut a sphere in half, they can see all of that. This is really gotten in my head, and I'm just trying to because we can only see what not even, can we see a full 180 degrees? And then we only actually focus on a very narrow band of that. And I don't know what their focusing range is, but what would it be like if you could see? I'm already overwhelmed by this much that I can see. I can't imagine being able to see everything. I feel like it would make my brain explode. It makes me feel a little bit rocky. Also, another random fact is that pigeons can read a mammogram as well as humans. And I don't know anything about that. That is literally just what it said. I can't imagine what that actually means, but I find it enjoyable nonetheless. So that's What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Allen Sibley. And I think it's the perfect bird. It's the perfect bird. It's the perfect book for your bird brain during pandemic times. Gus is very interested in my lap because Annie got up here. So now he's snorkeling me. Bam. What else? So that was enjoyable. Okay, an administrative news. I did try to record your bonus episode for what it was last month, April. It was horrible and forced and weird. So I'm going to work on a different one for May. I think we'll do a garden episode and maybe a new crochet technique that I have not invented, but like parallel invented. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're like, I know other people have come up with this, but I can't find it on the internets. So I'm going to put it on the internets, not in the way of ownership. Like I'm not peeing a circle around it in any way, but just in a I wanted to be able to find this when I was looking for it. So maybe somebody else wants to find it too. That was way too much information for you. I'm planning on some new episodes of bonus content. And I appreciate your patience as I sometimes fail and make horrible things and then decide not to show them. So, I mean, I know you would not judge me as horrible, but I did, so. Okay, now the dogs are fighting in front of me. Gus, really? Leave her alone. Get away. Get away. Come here. Come here, Gus. Oh, he's so bad. He is just annoying to her. He just bugs her all the time. Can you tell that Gus needs a pandemic haircut? Gus, show everybody your pandemic face. Oh my gosh, right. He's like an Ewok on pandemic. He can't, do you see him? You can't even see his face in there. What is going on with him? You can't even see his charming underbite because it's totally covered in fur. I mostly just picked him up to let Annie go somewhere else so she could be relieved of his attentions because he is such a pest. He's definitely a younger brother. I've never had one of those, but I think that's definitely what he is. So anyway, what were we talking about? Birds. Garden? Were we going to talk about the garden? Oh, because I was telling you about episodes. Okay, so that's what made me think about gardens. Can I just discuss both successes and failures? That's what gardening is. Sometimes more of the failures. So I've been battling some creature and I wasn't sure. We have like a pack of feral raccoons. I say feral. We have a pack of raccoons as opposed to the non-feral. We have a pack of raccoons. They might be, they could have been somebody's pet and they were and then they were released because the person did not want raccoon pet anymore because they were reasonable human beings, but they weren't reasonable when they got the raccoon pet. So maybe that raccoon grew up in a house and that's why that raccoon and her family have colonized this abandoned house next to me. I'm going with that. So yeah, they're feral. Anyway, I was kind of thinking maybe it was the raccoons that live next door. We're getting into my garden. I was getting super angry. But I think I've determined now, I know it's a cat. It's not raccoons. Because they're not eating anything that they tear up. They're just tearing it up. Like cats do. Okay, if you're a cat person, I love your cat. I don't like any other cats. That's not entirely true. But I'm a dog person. And the cat that tears up my garden is making me more of a dog person. It's just getting in my garden and tearing stuff up. Now, in its defense, it has not torn up my tomatoes, which are the most important part of the garden. Right now we have tomatoes. We planted out our tomato seedlings, we planted out our potatoes, and we planted out some beans that we started inside because last year I had a terrible time with getting them in Germany. There's a different story with that. But luckily the cat is not bothering the tomatoes. The cat, however, is bothering the beans and the peas, which I don't know if they're going to do anything. They're growing, but they're just not, they seem to be stagnating. Neither here nor there. Probably because there's a cat digging them up every day. My chair is very loud today. I'm sorry if you can hear that. What the heck? The cat just comes in the middle of the night, digs stuff up. We have a 2-foot fence around the garden. I know that's not very much. I understand. It was mainly put in place so our dogs wouldn't get into the garden and tear stuff up as they were running and playing. But generally it has worked. We've had a cat, before come in and dig and play, but it's not been too bad. Usually once plants start coming up, they just aren't interested. This cat, however, has a vendetta against me and clearly enjoys sitting somewhere on like a rooftop and watching me curse its name as I go into the garden every morning. We have tried so many bootleg ways to deter this cat. Okay, so full disclosure, I live in a sketchy neighborhood, which is great because I live in a sketchy house and I have sketchy yard keeping abilities, okay? I don't really care about, that's not entirely true, but I mostly don't care about like maintaining a lovely and attractive garden. I would prefer it to just look wild and crazy pants, but it doesn't even just look like, but I want it to secretly look wild and crazy pants that's like planned. You know what I mean? Like I want it to look I want it to look like my Sydney dress, gracefully, architecturally, but also just swooshy and beautiful. You'll see my dress in a little while. You'll totally get what I was talking about. But in reality, it just looks bootleg. Like it just, it's just busted all the time. There's like 3 different generations of T-posts happening. There's like netting or like scaffolding net, whatever it's called. I don't even know, trellising net for beans. There's like some, oh my gosh, this is the new one. There's, instead of getting cattle panels, which is still a dream, and you're going to love me because like cattle panels are only $20 a piece. By the way, what's going on in Canada with the cattle panels? Somebody on my Instagram feed, is having said that her hog panels, which are basically, they're very similar, that her hog panels in Canada were like $60 something. In the United States, they're like $22. That is not just a currency differential. What's happening there? Is it like our fuel subsidies that make that happen? What's going on with that? I don't understand. Anyway. In the meantime, we have some 4-foot galvanized fencing that's got like 2x4 holes in it. And so we're going to use that for our tomato trellising this year. And the holes are not big enough to get a tomato through, but like we're going to just, again, be super bootleg and just cut some places and then I've got my tetanus shot so I can harvest all the tomatoes. It'll be fine. I've had my tetanus jab. I'm okay. I can totally do it. Whatever. But anyway, so from when we put those up, excuse me, when we put up that fencing for supports for tomatoes, there were of course pieces that got trimmed off that were just a little bit too long or whatever. So like we have used like 6-inch pieces of 4-foot fencing that's got like sharp, crazy, because you cut it with a wire cutter. It's like super pointy and sharp. So, and it's kind of like curved because it was in a roll. So we have these like set up, like these little trimmed off pieces set up at like the junctions of our raised beds. I'll definitely do a garden episode just to show you how ridiculous we are. And they're like tied with string and like with zip ties, whatever was just like in your pocket at the moment that you decided this harebrained idea was the way to go. It's like we have those all over the place to try to deter the cats, like either from jumping over the fence or in some places where we couldn't put them up the whole, like them over the potatoes, like we couldn't put up those pieces. So we have it like on the entrance to the tomatoes and then the entrance to the beans to like, I don't care. Like the potatoes are pretty secure. Like they're pretty established. And also the cats don't seem to be as interested in them because I think the ground is firmer and less exciting to dig in. They really love to dig in the beans and dig up my bean plants. So we have like, oh, so even that didn't work. So then we went out and like tied the bean trellising to the 2-foot fence. Because obviously the cat was like jumping over the cat is sassy. I mean, I will give her that. And you know, but go be sassy somewhere else, please, cat. I mean, like, if you would just write me a ransom note, like, if you'll put a can of tuna out every other night, I won't mess with your beans. I would totally do it. I'm on it. And in fact, I will put you a can of tuna out every night if you will be the cat that protects my beans from other cats. Get organized, cat. Get organized. I'm just saying. Anyway. So, like, then we tied the netting to the fence. And then, of course, after we did all of that, we get a frost warning. Not just a frost warning, like, we're actually going to get a frost. It's going to get down to, like, 29 degrees. So, like, 2 days after I instituted the great, totally over-the-edge crazy person gardening skills of 2020, we get the warning that we're going to get a frost. So then that night, like just when you thought my garden couldn't get any sketchier, that night we go out and like take every sheet in our house. I did use the flannel sheets because I care about my garden. So I used the good sheets. Toma and I are out like, and literally I am laughing to the point like if I were a woman with a weaker, what's that? Pelvic floor. Do you like that pelvic floor symbol? That's pelvic floor. If I were a woman with a weaker pelvic floor, I would have peed myself on multiple occasions. Luckily in my new dress, which you'll see later, that's not even a problem, but whatever. I was like bent over laughing hysterically as we were trying to cover the plants because of course they're not just like little seedlings that are close to the ground. They're like, you know, tomato plants that are this tall and like super delicate. So we're like trying to put the sheets like over the 2-foot fence, but yet also underneath of the galvanized fencing that we're using as trellising for the tomatoes. And then we're like using a million laundry, what are those called? Clothespins to tie to clip the sheets to and blankets and then we're like, then we got them over the tomato. The potatoes were great because they're super low and not like I could just put a fitted sheet on top of them and that was great. Like I fitted it around. By the way, if you were curious, your fitted sheet perfectly covers 2 4x4 raised beds. They're not quite 4x4. They're like 3.5 by 4 or something, whatever. We're doing the same thing on the beans, except then it's also like then we have to like snip all the ties that we did to tie the trellising to the fence because of the currents, because we can't get the sheets between the, oh my gosh. Then we had to like cover her, we got new blackberry bushes. Tova's really like, she bought blackberry bushes with her own money. And then we dug oh my gosh, that was like a whole other trauma, was to dig holes for these blackberry bushes. My yard is so crazy. Anyway, that was like the beginning. That was right after we podcasted that next weekend. I'm out digging these stupid holes for these blackberry bushes, which I totally enjoyed, by the way. I'm saying it like I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but it did kill me. Kill me. Because of course I can't just be like, yeah, let's dig the hole for the blackberry bushes. I have to be like, well, I mean, where they're going, we could like totally put some corn in between them this year when they're super dormant. We're just trying to get them to establish their roots. So of course we should dig like a 6 by 8 foot trench in our never dug soil, which has tree roots. I am not kidding you. I had to go get the hatchet. There are tree roots that are this big around or they're dead. There's trees have been cut down. I didn't hurt a living tree. I mean, I did when I cut that tree down because that tree was a jerk. But that's a different story. So we're like, I'm out there like, and I feel like I'm in flip flops. I mean, no, I wasn't in flip flops. I was being reasonable. I was like, did I use a hatchet in flip flops? But I didn't. I had shoes on. I'm like straddling a trench because of course you had to like dig underneath the tree root to like get to the cutting a tree with a hatchet. I don't know why my neighbor doesn't have his own YouTube channel just of me doing stupid stuff in my yard. I'm not going to tell him, but somebody else should tell him. Anyway. Oh, so we did that. She got some strawberries for a strawberry planter, so that was done. Oh my goodness, y'all. But anyway. Oh, and then we have our like little wildflower bed, which again is definitely an exercise. And I want this to be beautiful and look like a wildflower bed, but actually be like all like super planned, like English garden style. But I'm not willing to spend more than $25 to make that happen, which means we're just getting seed. And then which also means I get like to the point where I'm like, I don't know where these seeds are anymore. So then I just like start throwing seeds. So yeah, there's definitely going to be like a beautiful structured thing that arises from that method. We're in that exciting stage now where we're like, I don't know if that's a weed or a weed. Because clearly, I mean, they're wildflowers, so they're kind of weeds. I'm like, I know that's a dandelion and I'll get that one out. But of course also the bed is like too big to reach because I didn't plant it. It was already there. So then I'm like trying not to step on the like hordes of wildflowers that like go in to like liberate the dandelion. Because again, dandelions are free reign in the rest of my yard. I don't care. They can grow there. I just don't want them to take all the nutrients from the newly formed other plants. Oh my gosh. I mean, really. Just let me have a bunch of hollyhocks and foxgloves and like just let them appear, please. Thank you. And let this dog not dig them up. How about that? He looks so innocent. Oh, he's sitting pretty. You're not innocent, don't lie. Oh my gosh. So yeah, there was a frost. And then like 3 days later, we had another we had a frost warning where it was like going to get down to 36 or something. And we didn't cover things that night because it's theoretically, and everything seems okay, except there are some our potato plants have a few dark leaves, but none of them have a whole plant that looks like it's not happy. And there are the tomatoes on the edge of the bed. There are 1 or 2 of them that look a little bit, but I'm not sure if it was the frost or just general trauma of being out in the world. So we'll just kind of see how they do. That's all you can do, right? That's all you can do, Gus. And so I don't know if that frost damage was from the original like actual freeze that we had and it just didn't show up until the other night, or if it was actually from the other night. So I don't know. I'm concerned about the apples in our area, but they did say that most of the apples had moved from a flower to an applet stage. And so, and that is more resistant to the frost than the flower stage. So hopefully we'll see. What else? What else is on my list? Bird book. Got it. Let's see. Freeze warning. Got it. Sydney dress. Doing it later. Time Team. Oh, Time Team. Have you watched Time Team, y'all? My UK people are like, duh, it's part of our culture, whether we like it or not. There are certainly people who do not enjoy Time Team. I am not one of those people. I highly enjoy Time Team. It's now available on Amazon Prime, so you should just go watch it if you're in the US, definitely. If you don't like it, that's fine, but you should try it out. There's like 29,000 seasons of it. And it's literally just British archaeology. They go to a site, they do stuff in 3 days. It's the best thing ever. It's everything from like early Neolithic all the way up to like Victorian archaeology, even some like post-industrial archaeology. It's basically the best thing ever. All the archaeologists are totally interesting and engaging. It's super fun when you're in the US and you're like, ooh, this house is 100 years old. It's so fancy. And even our like older sites, like of indigenous folks, are like 6,000, like 4 or 6,000 years old. They'll be out there like, yeah, this is like, that's about 15,000 BC. And you're like, shut up. Shut up. So it's really the Iron Age stuff. I mean, I love all of it, but the Iron Age stuff and the like Bronze Age stuff really gets me. It captures my imagination, as I say. So yeah, we were talking. Why were we talking about this? Oh, because they did an Iron Age and they did a banjo enclosure, and I was like, huh. That's not what they were called. Like we call them that now because we know what a band. Like, okay, that's a dumb reference, but anyway, it was still exciting. And then. Why did I even feel like I need to tell you? Oh, it was the grain. That's why I wanted to tell you. I was like, this other stuff's just silly. Unlike the rest of my podcast, which is very serious and informed information. Okay, so they're doing this Neolithic site. Was it? No, it's Iron Age. I apologize. It is Iron Age, and it is in fact late Iron Age. It is just beginning of the Roman occupation. Before the Roman occupation. So they're excavating this pit, and it's like it's dug into the bedrock, which I think is chalk at that place. I could be wrong about that. And they're talking about their grain storage. And so they're talking about that this pit can hold like, wait, now I think it was 10,000 tons, but that doesn't seem, no, it really was, right? No, it can't be 10,000 tons. Maybe it was 10 tons. Maybe it was 10 tons. Now I don't even know what I'm talking about. It was tonnage. That this thing can hold tons of grain. And I don't know why I never thought, I was like, I had no idea that they would have that much surplus to store. Like I knew that there was surplus and that's like why you get hierarchies in cultures and like I get that, but it had not really like percolated to that level. But anyways, they're talking about what they do is they fill this pit with the grain. They call it corn. That's very confusing if you're American. If you're going to watch Time Team, corn is grain in the UK. Don't get confused. Anyway, they fill it with grain and then they seal it with like a wet clay seal that they keep wet so that it does not become porous. So it creates this like airtight environment in this bedrock chamber. So the very top layer of the wheat or the grain, sprouts. So it germinates. And then that, I guess, I didn't know this, that germination like an oxygen rich process? Because I said it. Well, anyway, through the process of germination or something, they said germination, right? I'm not making it up. But anyway, it removes the oxygen from the environment, which then kind of just puts everything in stasis. And then of course there's no, like, your bad bacterias and stuff, they need oxygen usually. So it puts us in this like anaerobic state and it just chills and stores there. How cool is that? And of course you can just take that germinated grain, dry it out, and make some sprouted grain flour, and then that's also delicious and good for you. Love it. Love it. So enjoyable. Anyway, so that was that. And then Maryland Sheep and Wool had their, I'm gonna have to look at the fleeces, Gus. Maryland Sheep and Wool had their virtual festival. Kudos to the folks at Maryland Sheep and Wool who are definitely not watching this, but I'm just gonna put it into the universe. Kudos to them for really trying to go outside their comfort zone, and try to do something to promote sales for their vendors who of course lost out on a large part of their income, I'm sure, for the year. And I saw several vendors who said they had a great weekend for sales. And in fact, some of them saying that they had their best weekend ever for sales. So, hooray. part of that is that they also hosted an online fleece sale. So it wasn't like the vendors posted their fleeces to the sheep and wool site and they just posted links to all their different vendors. But they did a great job of making the list searchable or filterable by either like fine, medium, long wool, downy wool, like the wool type, and also like you could just do it by breed. So they did a great job. And I might have accidentally bought fleeces. I mean, it was my civic duty. Probably should process that fleece I bought last year. I'm right on the edge of getting that done. It's clean. I'm right on the edge of getting that Columbia fleece processed. As soon as I get this Inglenook fibers done, and quite frankly, as soon as I get your national parks pre-orders done, I'm gonna hit it hard. I'm gonna hit that fleece hard. I'm gonna card it up, make some wool, spin it. Because I did just buy 2 new fleeces. Shut up. Don't judge. Feel free to judge. Just don't tell me about it. Or tell me. Whatever. I don't care. Anyway, where did I put the... Gus, did you steal the washed sample? No, you didn't. Oh, you did. You are such a jerk. So I'm not going to go into great detail or anything, but I bought a Corriedale fleece. It's one of the ones I've wanted to buy forever because this stupid lock structure gets me. This like super chunky, this is the unwashed, this was a coated fleece. This is unwashed. I just pull it straight out of the bag. And I love this chunk. There's something about this stupid chunky, blocky, crinkly goodness that just gets me. It gets me. So I did, oh guys, that was my own fault. I left my sample where Gus could get to it. And what I had done, I read about this. I don't know where I read about this, but I just read about it. And she was talking about, it's a spinning teacher. And so sometimes when she has to teach a class and she just wants samples, she'll just take her locks and rub them like on a bar of soap to wash them. And so I did that with my Tufts woolens. I just used warm water, it was hot water probably. I used hot water, got it wet, rubbed it on my bar of Tuft woolens, rinsed it and just let it dry. And it well, now it's like this because Gus tore it up. But imagine like if this clean fluffy thing were in this shape, and that's what it was. Super fun. And now I don't know that I would necessarily wash like a whole fleece that way, because there are people who wash their fleeces to maintain the locks. I'm so sorry. Because they're either going to just flick the ends and not even process them and just spin them this way, or because they like to comb and it's easier for them to comb if everything's still organized. I tend to not be that patient. I like loose steam, but you know, it would be really fun just to be like, I'm not going to process this whole fleece this way, but I'm going to just take like 6 ounces, let's say, just enough for like a skein, and just wash it by hand. And I might try to do that. Just on my Tufts, lay it out to dry. I'm just saying, maybe I'll do that. But anyway, it totally got me. Cormo, beautiful, chunky, fun. Not very greasy, a little greasy, but not terribly greasy. I'm excited about it. So that was that. And I don't know, it's this much. I don't remember how much it weighed. If you're buying a coated fleece and you're like, how much did that cost? It just depends. But usually if it's a coated fleece, it's going to be in the $20 to $35 range, depending on like what kind of wool it is and how fine it is and all that good stuff. So just that gives a rule of thumb. Because it's a pain to coat fleeces. Like, it costs extra for the animal, the shepherdess. It costs more for, I was like, the animal husbandress. It costs more for the shepherdess to like supply coats. And then also it's a pain for her to take coats on and off, because she has to change the coats as the fleeces grow, like, because it has to be fairly close fitting, but not too close fitting. So she has to change fleeces as the sheep goes through its year. But let me just discuss. So fun to process. A coated fleece. There's no straw in it. It's amazing. And then I got this fleece, which I have not even taken out of the bag. And it was, oh my gosh, I just lost my brain what it was. Montledale. Thank you. It's a Montledale fleece. Now, it was not coated. So it's going to have more VM in it. And your vegetable matter definitely varies just sheep to sheep. Some sheep are dirty sheep. And they just love to roll in stuff. And they love to throw their food, like as they're eating from a rack, they love to throw the hay up in the air. And then it gets all up in their fleece. So, you know, you just gotta. And it's not like VM hurts the wool at all. It's just, it's more tedious. And lots of times, like, when you're picking the wool, like when you're breaking it apart to wash, to card, a lot of it will fall out. And I'm actually not even a very particular spinner. It's just, especially if I'm buying something online, I like to buy a coated fleece because, like, when you're in person, you can look at it and be like, oh, this sheep is not a dirty beast. And, like, yes, it's got some hay in it. It's got some grass in it. But overall, it's pretty decent. Whereas online, it's a lot harder to tell unless you just know the farmer. And again, like, especially like if you're doing the Maryland wool, lots of times people have bought fleeces from a specific farm, and there are people who can remember that. I'm not one of the people who can remember that. And so they can trust that person. Like, oh yeah, that person, they definitely have lovely fleeces, and they're not that dirty. But for me, buying online, I prefer to buy a coated. But this one wasn't coated. But it was a good price, and I've never spun Montledale. And I was looking for a downy one, a down wool. So I'm excited to try it. And you can just see it just looks a little bit dirtier. There's definitely some dust and, you know, dirt. But that'll come right out. It's no big deal. And I'll definitely card this one. So right. I bought some Power Scour, so I'm excited. I do like Power Scour. It's my favorite fleece. Well, I bought the unscented one, which I can't remember what it's called now, but it's just the unscented Power Scour. I did buy a gallon of Power Scour because I'm just making that commitment for my life. It is my favorite way to wash fleeces. I've used the Kookaburra Scour, which is fine, but I just prefer the Power Scour, and it's expensive. A gallon of it is like $95 at the Woolery. Feel free to judge me. Just go for it. Just judge me. I drive a 2000 something car. It's 2000 something now. I bought a new car to me, and it's a 2000. I don't even know. Is it a 2006? See, I don't even know. So I could buy a $95 Power Scour. I don't know why I'm justifying it to you. Hush. You're going to judge me. You're going to judge me no matter what. So both of these are not huge fleeces. They're both like in the four-ish pound range, which I like. Because especially when you're buying a coated fleece, like if you're buying like one of these monster 10 pound fleeces, 8 pound fleeces, like that price adds up pretty quickly. And so it's a pretty big commitment. And let's face it, I just want to buy the fleece. Buying the fleece and processing the fleece are two different hobbies, and I've committed to one, and I've halfway committed to the other, but not spinning the fleece. That's a third hobby. I mean, I can only have so many hobbies. And when the 4-H kid their parents post pictures of them with the sheep, I mean, it's an investment in our future, y'all. Investment in our future. Anyway, so that was the thing that happened since we talked about Mother's Day. We talked about that. Oh my gosh, I totally took a... Why did I feel like I should tell you that? Look at my list. Mother's Day. Bath. I read that book about fabric history. It was good. Cats. Oh my gosh. I did take a bath. And I don't ever take baths, but I had purchased some bath bombs when I was supposed to go on vacation with my husband. Because the place we were going had like a soaking bath, and I was very excited about it. So I'm not gonna lie, I might have been more sad about the lack of hot tub and soaking bath in my life. I'm a Cancer, okay? I'm a water person. I need water. Than I was even about the vacation that I could go on. So I decided that I was going to try to do the bath in the house and just see. I don't know, it just came over me. I was like, I'm using that Lush bath bomb. That was an investment. It was very enjoyable. I got this thing for my daughter. I did not get it for me. I got it for my daughter because she likes to take baths. That fits over, like we have an old school bath, like a regular bath. It's probably... It's not like cool old, it's just, it's like weird old. It's like from the 50s probably, or the 60s. But the toggle for the drain to close the drain on and off, it has like come loose over time. And even when it didn't, even when I first moved in and I did take a bath a couple of times, like it has like the safety precaution, right? Like where like the drain is open, or the toggly part is like open at the top, so the water in the tub will only get so high before it drains out. But as a person who takes up a lot of the volume of the bath with her body, like it was like it was like me and a cup of water in the bath. It was not particularly exciting or relaxing. And over time, like that line got like further, and so that now whatever. I got this thing. I didn't even know it was a thing. You can buy this like suction cup cage to put over the bath toggle. And it still has an opening at the very top, but it's much higher. And you can adjust it because it's suction cuppy. So you can put it wherever you need. Like if you don't want the water to get very high because you have a kid in there, but you want it a little bit high, whatever. It's adjustable. And so you can kind of move it up so that you can get deeper level of water in the bath. I was buying a gift for myself and didn't even know it. Really enjoyable. So I took my Lush bath and then I read my fabric history book, which is not around here. I'm not going to get up and get straight because it's not like a book I need to show you. I bought this book forever ago because like I love, again, like the history of cloth, fiber, all that stuff is very interesting to me, as it is to you, I'm sure. And like women's work was a text for a college class I took. So I've had that since from like 1998 or something like that. And that's, that was that was our textbook. Smith College, I miss you. Just saying. Just miss you. This book is called The Golden Thread, How Fabric Changed History. And it's by Cassia St. Clair. It looks like that. And I bought this book, I think, when it first came out. I don't know if I pre-ordered it, but it was pretty close. And I've really been disappointed in it. I've tried to be a person, like I'm generally a person who starts at the beginning of a book and then reads through it. It's crazy, right? I know that you're like, yeah, that's what we all do. But like I'm not, like I don't automatically think to like chunk through. And so so when I took my bath, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to allow myself to just skip through a bunch of the stuff that I'm not interested in. Or that I've read before, and so like I'm just not interested in revisiting. And so I allowed myself to do that, and that was a liberating experience. I just took my bath and read about medieval wool trade, which is one of my favorites. And it was very pleasant. So I don't know that I recommend this book yet. I recommend that you check it out from your library. That's what I recommend. And you decide. So I haven't totally decided if I'm a fan of this book or not. Like its layout is weird to me, and like I don't understand. It's just strange. I can't even wrap my head around what is strange about it, but I'm not jiving with it right now. But I did enjoy that process, and I did enjoy reading about the medieval wool trade in my bath with my fancy Lush bath bomb. Oh my gosh, now that we've talked for like 7 hours, maybe we should talk about, I think that's all the things on my list. The best part is, I only have 2 things to show you because I only worked on 2 knitting things this week. Maybe I should have warned you that at the beginning before you sat through all that. I'll put a thing in that shows you can skip. So I finished my Pierre shawl by Mr. Stephen West. What? Are you checking it out? Are you checking it out? Right. So I am very pleased with how it turned out. Of course, the last color was a bit of a slog because, as you can see, it gets quite big. I did to block it, what did I do? I just washed it. I used the salad spinner, which my daughter was like, have you ever even spun a salad in this? And I was like, well, originally, now it's a wool spinner. And I just shake my salad greens out because I have priorities. Wool over salad. So I just washed it in my Tufts woolens, spun it dry in my salad spinner, put it on I have a gold wing drying rack, by the way. I totally have a new fancy drying rack. I have like the umbrella drying thing. I got it for Christmas. It's not yet been installed. That's a discussion for another day. It involves pouring concrete, so I knew I needed to wait till spring, but somebody needs to get on it. That's not me. I do many things. Concrete is not one of them. I'm very excited about that. But the gold wing is perfect for drying a shawl that you don't really want to necessarily block firmly because you kind of want to keep the garter and more of the texture. So I just used my clothespins, put the top of it around the top of the drying rack, and then just put clothespins on the points, the shells, the scallops, and then just let the gravity of the extra weight of the clothespins pull down. Very enjoyable. And I really like, now this is a DK weight shawl, but mine is fingering weight held double. And it has this ribbed border. I love this ribbed border. It just gives it a little extra meat. It makes a great edge. Can you see? Okay, so here's the ribbed border. It gives it a great, nice little edge. It's not squishy because it's stretched flat, but it feels good and it feels nice and firm. Like you have, like a 9-stitch border, I think. So it feels very firm, like you're not going to break it when you're blocking it. And I just really like it. Mr. West. So talented, of course. So yeah, it's just alternating bands of texture. You got a nice little garter, very simple garter, kind of feather and fan kind of border on it. I'm showing you the wrong side. You don't care, right? It's got some twisted rib. It's got a little bit of moss stitch. It's got some garter stripes. It's just love, and even in the fingering weight held double, it has a nice amount of drape to it. A lot of this was singles. Everything except the dark here was a single, and then that was just a 2-ply. But yeah, I think it's great. Do you want to know what yarn I used? You're like, I wanted to know 10 minutes ago. Okay, shush. So this majority of this yarn was donated to me, was given to me. It's not donated, it was given to me. It was a gift. And I'll show you like what I have left of each color too. Oh, I did do one less repeat of the shell border, just because I was kind of concerned I wouldn't make it through the last repeat of it with the amount of yarn I had. And also I was at that point where I was done. So the very first yarn is Foxy Lady, 70% merino superwash, 30% silk, in the color Bad Girls Club, and that is by Farmer's Daughter. The middle two colors are Hedgehog Fibers Skinny Singles, which apparently I've burned that tag. And then the last color is by Urban Girl Yarns, which I bought at SSK last year. And this is her color, and it's her colorway Alaskan Salmon. So here's what I had left of each of the yarns. And that's a big skein, by the way. It's like 125 grams, that Urban Girls. So here's what I have left of the Farmer's Daughter. That's color 1. Color 2, Hedgehog Skinny Singles. Color 3, Hedgehog Skinny Singles. Color 4, Urban Girls. And it's here, wrap that around so you can see that's significantly less. And so, yeah, instead of using 4 DK weights, I just faded it through, and it worked out really well, and I highly recommend it. I would have had enough of the Urban Girls to make it through the other repeat, but, you know, sometimes you just lose momentum. Right. So pretty. So hooray for that. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so, right? Yeah, because the pattern is written so that, for example, you start with color 1, and then this section you alternate color 1 and color 2. So instead of alternating colors, I just marled. I just held color 1 and 2 together. Then you go to solid color 2, as written. Then you're supposed to alternate. I don't know if you alternate actually color 2 and color 3, but that's what I did. And you just marl it down. It worked out really well. I'm very pleased with it. It's a nice size. It's a big, generous size, but it's not overwhelming. Especially when you're making a thing for a non-knitter, I think, or somebody who's not like a big shawl person. Like, I think it'll be easy to wear, but not overwhelming, hopefully. So yeah, there's that. And then the other thing I worked on, because that was quite a bit. The other thing I worked on is a Good Vintage Cardi by Fran Morgan. And now I have reservations about this garment, this pattern. Not that there's anything wrong with the pattern, but I don't necessarily highly recommend it. Just because it's like, does not have good sizing. I think it only goes up to like a 44 or 46. I don't even know if it goes that high. It was originally a crochet magazine. And those typically or not just crochet, but just like in general, magazines often have a smaller size range. Whatever. Things and stuff. But so that's a reservation I have. And the other reservation I have is it's like, I think this is a pattern, probably because it's written in a crochet magazine, that is written for people who are crocheters. For example, to do what we call a cast on, to do your starting, you just chain and then you single crochet into those chains. By the way, thank you to everyone who told me about this UK publication. I did not know that UK and US crochet terminology was different. I had no idea. Why is that a good idea? And like, it's not like they call one stitch zebra here and aardvark there. Or like, it's not like the terms are exactly the same. They just are used to refer to different stitches. Not helpful. Whose idea was that? Anyway, so you know. So thank you to everyone who told me about that. And thank you to everyone who suggested that I do foundation row, which is where you basically work your chain and your first row, or your first row, whichever it might be. You can do US, I'm going to use US terms. You could use like your chain and your single crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, all at the same, like you just work it, like you just, okay, that's what you do. And I had tried that, but I don't know if it was because my yarn was darker or because my eyes are aging and I need a new prescription, but it's the pandemic, so I can't go. I don't know. I had trouble, or if it's because I was using fingering weight yarn, and maybe I should have practiced on like a worsted weight to get the feel of it down before I tried it on the whatever. It was as tedious to me as working into the chain, like maybe more so. So I did not use the foundation row. Here's my original so far. Yeah. And this is the one that I did the chain. And now I did work double crochets as the foundation instead of singles because I didn't understand the difference between the UK and the US. But what happened is I got another few rows on this and then realized I really did not like the solid for the for the foundation, for the cast on. And so I let it just sit in the basket and I just looked at it and was like, I I really don't like that, but I don't really want to chain another 300 stitches and work into them because I hate that. And I also don't want to work that foundation row because I hate that too. And so I just looked at it and was like, I really do want to make this thing, but I really don't want to start over. But I also feel like I really need to start over. So I had this whole thing happening and I just kept looking at it. So I decided that I would just try to do a knitting cast on and then work off of it. And so that's what I did. I did a German twisted cast on because that's just kind of the cast on that I prefer, but you could use any cast on. I used a German twisted cast on and then just worked off of it. Like, just use the loops to crochet off. I'm going to do a tutorial about it. I know I did not invent this thing. I know that many other people have done it before, but I couldn't find it when I was looking because I was looking under like knitting cast-ons for crocheters. You know, I looked under all the like backwards loop cast-on for crochet, but you know, all these things. I couldn't find it. So if you know of a YouTube video out there that shows people how to do it, definitely post it in the YouTube comments. And I will reference that. But I couldn't find it when I was looking, so I will do one. And it was so much easier for me. So much easier. Also, this is just the chain cast on. And so here's the twisted, so much stretchier. So all around it worked much better for me. Now, does it look exactly the same as the No, but are you going to see it in a sweater that's fingering weight? Also, no. Now, also, I did mine, this is Handspun. So I used 2 strands of Handspun, and so you can also see like more of like the one strand versus the other cast on because they're 2 different colors. But that's what it looks like. It's that very bottom row that you're seeing there. See, there's like a slightly darker purple on the edge. That's just because it was 2 strands of Handspun and they're not the same. But like, could you tell from here? No. And I know that everyone's still looking at my butt real close, but they probably will be afraid to. Cause social distancing. I think social distancing. But here it is so far. Right. And also somebody said in the comments, because I posted on Instagram, like, does anybody know what this is called? So I can reference this to people. But one of the women said, or one of the folks said that what they do is they like to do ribbing for a hat. They do like knitted ribbing, but then they switch to crochet for the crown because it's faster for them. Brilliant. Another person said that they often are not sure if they're going to do a knitting or a crochet project. So sometimes they'll start with knitting and then be like, no, that needs to be crochet. And so they'll switch over. Right? Super fun. What else was there? Can't remember. But anyway, enjoying it. So yeah, here it is. The only thing I don't like about this crocheting is that, like, unlike knitting, where your project is kind of like all bunched up on the needle, like it's all out there. So you've got like this big thing that and again, if you're a smaller human, your strip will be smaller. But like I have this like crazy thing that I'm like, it's like your giant granny panties on the floor. The like non-stretch cotton, just the cotton knit. And I'm like, that's so much of my panty on the floor. Versus knitting, which is more like the bikini panty with nylon spandex, so it just like shrinks back up, like you take it off and then it shrinks up and looks like less humongo. It's just like that. Crochet is like panties. It's like the cotton granny panty. It's comfy and cozy, but it's all out there showing you the size of your butt in a very realistic manner. Lie to me, crochet. Lie to me. Anyway, so there it is. I'm really enjoying it. Isn't it looking lovely? I'm a little bit excited. Now, because it's hand spun, it's not looking quite as stripy as the pattern, but that's okay. I'm gonna make more, so I'm not worried. So what am I using? Again, I tell you at the very end. I'm using some Handspun. This is Handspun that was dyed by Hello Yarn, and I have like a pound of it, I think, because I'm crazy. And then I'm using HIpString's Buoy, which is her special blend. It's like Manx and whatever. I love it. And this is her Urchin colorway. She has it in both fingering weight and DK weight and fiber. I like spinning the fiber as well. And then Leading Men Fiber Arts, and they are non-superwash nylon. They're non-superwash merino, right? What am I even talking about? I have the colors. Oh, now I'm not sure which ones are which. But I think this is Gothic Queen. Like, do you see, like, what is up with me and my romantic purples and my English garden? I don't know. I'm excited. And then I think this one is Vengeance, but it could be the other way because it feels like that other one is Vengeance, but I'm not sure. There's this one. And then this one is Heirloom. So you can see them. And what I'm doing is, because I have two skeins of both the Buoy and the medium purple of the Leading Men Fibers, what I'm doing is my striping sequence is as such. It is. So basically, like there's cream. There is the lighter Leading Men, which is like light purple. There's the Buoy, which is the medium purple. And then there's the Leading Men darker purple. So what I'm doing is my striping sequence is like light purple, medium purple, dark purple. Then it mirrors back. Medium purple, light purple, cream, medium purple, light purple, medium purple. So I'm like mirroring around because I have two skeins of the medium and dark, or the medium and light purples. So if I mirror the stripes, then I should use, that's my theory, going for it. I have no idea if I have enough yarn, but luckily crochet, you can very easily figure that out. But for a while, I'm just going to roll with it. I am doing some decreasing. I'm sure there's a way to do decreasing, but I just did whatever. For the grannies, because I don't want it to be, it's going to be like hip length, and I don't want it to be that width all the way up because my butt's real big. So I am kind of tapering up a little bit for some waist shaping, for some butt shaping in the back, some butt darts. And so I'm sure there's a way. I don't know how to find it. So I'm just winging it. Oh man, Fortune, I love her so much. So what I'll do is, see, I have like, this is what's also fun about crochet. I totally want to write a top-down granny stripe cardigan in crochet, because try it on as you go, literally. Because there's not on a needle, you can just try it on at any time. What? Which is one of also great things about the foundation row crochet, is like you can literally just crochet and then like measure it. Like you don't have to gauge swatch. What? But anyway, I was thinking, how much time do I have? Oh my gosh, my battery's about to run out. All right, we'll just stop right here and I'll plug the camera in and then I'll come back. So one of the nice things about the foundation crochet is that you can measure it like as you. So anyway, so I wanted to do a top-down one because top-down granny stripe, like you would literally be able to just try it on as you go, not like, oh, I gotta switch out all these needles. I gotta put on a string. No, just try it right on. How cool would that be? Anyway. I don't even, what are we doing? I don't know. I needed a new battery. I'm excited about it. Oh, so where I was going to put my butt darts in, one of the great things about it is like you can just be like, oh, I'm folding this in half. And then, so that's the back, the middle of the back. And so I can be like, oh, well, okay, so I want my butt darts to be like halfway. You know what I mean? Like I want them to be 25% on either side of my back. So like, okay, so this is the middle, this is the side, and then I should put my butt darts right here. How cool is that? So what I did for my to decrease is on one row, instead of doing English chirps, 3 double crochets into each space, I went to like where my marker was for my butt, and I did 1 double crochet, and I was pulling very firmly. Like I did my double crochet, pulled very firmly. Then I did 2 double crochets. So on one chain 3, on one space, I know it's chains. On one space I did just 1 single double crochet, and on the next space I did just 2. And then on the next row, I skipped the hole between them. I pretended like they were just 3 double crochets together. And so that worked out pretty well. I tried to just skip a space, and it was like too crazy. It did not work well for me. But this seems like it worked really well. Just saying. So that's another great thing about crochet is that you can just, I have not counted. I have no idea how many double crochets are in here right now because I don't have to count it. I can just literally be like, does this fit? Yep. Okay. Moving on. And because it's not as stretchy, like there's I mean, it is still stretchy. Actually, it's pretty stretchy. Why did I think crochet was so rigid? Maybe because I've only seen crochet in like acrylic yarns, which are not stretchy. It's pretty stretchy. Anyway, I'm excited about it. I'm just telling you. I'm gonna. I really had a moment where I was like, I'm gonna make this a cropped crochet stripe, a cropped granny stripe cardigan because I want to wear it with all these ridiculous new dresses that I have not made yet. But I'm gonna hold fast and make it a full length one, and then next time I'll make a cropped one. But how cute would a cropped one be? And I'm even thinking like a cropped one, but like make it like the T shape. So maybe you would just cast on for the, like that sweaters where you cast on for the back and then you knit to the armpits and then you cast on for the arms, for the sleeves, and then you go for a little while and then you bind off for the sleeves and then you knit the rest of the thing and then you just fold it in half and seam it. I mean, that would be great. I'm just saying. It's definitely not as easy to do shaping, but it is fun to just be able to like spatially put the shaping where you want it, which is one of the reasons I think crochet works so well for like stuffies, is because it's much more sculptural in its. All right, are you done hearing me talk about that? Let's talk about sewing. So for Mother's Day, I made myself a Sydney dress. It's called the Sydney designer dress because I only take designer things. I'm very fancy. It's called the Sydney designer dress, and it is by Style Arc Fabrics. Now, I bought this pattern, I don't recall when, but Style Arc is an Australian company, and they had a really good sale. I want to say it was like 50% off, but maybe I'm just making that up. It was like 25% off. Anyway, they had a sale on their printed patterns. And they go from size, generally, they go from a size 4, which is about 34.5-inch bust, up to a size 30. Oh, this is a finished measurement. I apologize. Well, whatever, that's the finished measurement. Up to a size 30. In this case, the finished bust is like 62.5 inches. Go Style Arc Patterns. And what they do is they offer, you can purchase either a single size PDF. On their Etsy store, you can purchase, it's like 3 size PDFs. So like you could purchase a 26, 28, 30. Now they do come in separate files. The only problem with the only problem with getting just a 1 size file is that sometimes you want like a different size shoulder than you want for the bust. And so that's the only problem with that. That's one of the reasons I got the hard pattern, the hard copy, multiple size pattern. It's because sometimes when I'm modifying, I like to be able to see when you're grading it. It's very easy to see like, oh, I need this to come down to this size for this place. That being said, I did not do that at all in this pattern. In fact, I didn't even trace this pattern before I cut it, because I didn't have my Swedish tracing paper and I just wanted to make my dress. And I just cut this pattern out like a wild woman. And I have no regrets. How do you like that? Honest toast. Honest talk. Anyway, so I bought several of their patterns. So they offer them as PDFs. You can get them. I don't know if, I mean, I know they offer the tiled ones, but I don't know if they offer like the copy shop. You can get them printed on like a full size paper. I don't know that they offer that, but they do offer the tiled option where you tape them all together. So you can buy them like by the single size, and they're much more affordable if you just buy them by a single size. I think even on their Etsy store, if you buy the 3 sizes, I think it's like less than $9 US, which is really good for a sewing pattern. I believe that the hard copies, I believe that oak, I know, because I may have bought another one or 3. Shut up. Oak Fabrics, who's out of Chicago, they sell a very wide selection of the Style Arc patterns in hard copy. So if you prefer to have a hard copy, and they shipped pretty quickly to me. I mean, it was not like lightning fast, but it was pretty quickly. And they have beautiful fabrics. By the way, I have been very comfortable in boycotting Merchant & Mills fabrics because they didn't offer fat size patterns, and now they have started doing it, and now I'm in trouble. They don't have all of their patterns in fat sizes, but they have some, and now that means I could buy their fabric. Their fabric is so delicious. So spendy. Whatever. So anyway, Oak does sell Merchant & Mills fabric. Watch out. Be careful. Don't look. So anyway, oh, I'll put the film of me wearing my dress here. So here is my finished Sydney dress. It's definitely a thing that you have to do in Stephen West poses to get the full effect. So yeah, sorry, I'm touching my boobs a lot. You know you want to too. So the pattern has pockets going right about here in this line, but I really could not get them to look right. That sounds like I did it 20 times. I did, and I did it once and it looked wonky, so I took them out because I didn't know how to fix them correctly. So currently there are no pockets. I did see that lots of people put their pockets in the side seams, so I might have enough room. I don't know. What do you think? It's a little snug. I might have enough room to do that. And I think if I do, I will use like a lighter weight fabric for that. So like maybe some lawn or something, so that those are not quite as bulky. Because again, we want to make sure we have a slim fit. So the other thing you can see while it's on my body is the bodice line. Now again, I did make my bodice an inch deeper than was indicated. So if you make the pattern, well, if I made the pattern as it was, it would not have fit me in the sleeve like I wanted, but it would have been about, the seam line would have been here, which I would prefer. This is not, but it's like right above the fullest part of my bust. So I think I would like it. I prefer it to be up here. So the next time I make it, I think I will there's just the tiniest bit of side seam on the bodice, like between the sleeve and the bottom of the bodice. So I might just totally make this bodice almost a rectangle instead of having it come in. I would come in at the tiniest bit, but maybe more of a rectangular, because I do like the sleeve size, because when I do this, I've got plenty of, room for comfort. So I might play with that. I mean, I don't know that I'm not upset with this bodice line, but I think I would like it to be, excuse me, just a little bit higher. So yeah, and then pockets. Yeah, I definitely, hi, you want pockets, right? I mean, because you're a human and you want pockets. But I could do a patch pocket. I have especially enjoy one of the patch pockets from Audacier, her tunics, but I don't have enough of this fabric to use. I don't have enough to get 2 pockets out. Hey guys. So I would have to do contrast, and I don't think I want to mess up the fun line. So yeah, so you can see this fabric is what might be considered a heavier weight linen. It's like a I can't remember if it's 7.3 ounces for a yard or 7.1 ounces for a yard. I was originally concerned that it would be too heavy, because again, just like a knitted garment, a sewn garment for a larger person requires more fabric, therefore the overall garment weighs more, but it doesn't feel at all heavy, and I really do enjoy, I don't know if you can tell that I enjoy the way it moves, but you might be able to pick up on that from all of my things. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? So here it is. Did you enjoy it? So here's what the paper version looks like that you get. I did not turn my cuff up. I just left it. That's the only thing I didn't tell you in the but it's made so that you can turn the cuff up. But I kind of liked it, the longer length. So I didn't tack my cuff up. I just left it. But otherwise, and I told you about not putting the pockets in, or about putting the pockets in and then taking them out. But yeah, what? I really love it. And I need to make 7,000 more for all the times I leave the house, which is 0 times. Whatever, this is a good house dress, y'all. As long as I put pockets in it, that's a great sewing dress, because I like to sew in non-knit fabrics because threads don't stick to them as much. Anyway, I will say I enjoyed this pattern. It is not a pattern for a new sewist because there are minimal directions. Now, I'm not an experienced garment sewist at all, but I am slightly more comfortable than a beginner. I'm like a middleweight. And so for me, it's kind of nice. It's like an Elizabeth Zimmerman pithy pattern where she just tells you, like, generally, like, okay, you want to like do this, and then you want to increase to this, and then you want to class some stuff off, and then you just sew the thing together. And you're like, totally get what you're saying, Elizabeth. It's kind of like that. But if you're a new sewist, you'd be like, what the flippity flap? But sometimes, like, when I'm knitting, I like want them to give me like the meta pattern. Like, I don't want to read like all of this stuff to be like, wait, what am I doing? Where am I decreasing? Like, I would just prefer them to be like, I would like this like meta paragraph off to the side to be like, you're going to decrease at this thing every other row, or you're going to decrease this thing at every 4th row, and otherwise just work in pattern. But that takes up like this much text because I have to tell you more explicitly. So this is definitely the meta sewing directions. And I don't know what kind of pattern support they offer because I did not utilize it. But for example, the total length of these directions is like this much. So you have to know like how you're going to finish your seams, and like you have to be, now it's perfectly fine, but it's not going to walk you through it. Versus, this is another thing that I want to sew very soon, is this gypsum skirt, which by the way does not go up to huge sizes, but at least goes to a 24, which is not enough because that's only 48.5 inches bust, and the average American now is like 44 or 46. So if your range goes down to 31, it should go up to, if it goes to 10, 15, 12 at 14 inches below the range, it should go 14 inches above the range. I'm just saying. But we're moving forward and we're making progress, so hopefully this will continue to be extended. So this skirt, which I would say is pretty comparable, maybe less complicated than this dress, has a 15-page instruction booklet with it. This dress has this picture and then a page this big of directions that tells you finished sizes, fabric requirements. There's also no pattern layout, and that I do not like. Like, there's no cutting layout. Usually a sewing pattern will give you a cutting layout that looks something like this. You know, it'll just be a picture of the fabric, and this did not do that. And I did not like that. It wasn't too bad because this only had 11 pieces, and 5 of those pieces were very small. But I did not care for that. I would prefer to have my cutting layout. I think part of the reason that it was successful for me is that my fabric was the same on both sides. Or somebody's going to be like, no, it's always different. It was the same enough on both sides. In fact, confession, one of the pieces, instead of cutting it long ways, I cut it the opposite direction, and it's still fine. One of the back panels, the back side panels, because the skirt's made up of like 6 panels. So the back side panels, I totally cut on the opposite direction of the fabric, and it's still fine. At least it is in my head. So that's one of the benefits of using a fabric that is pretty even weaved, has no pattern, all that stuff. That was a saver for me. That said, I still really like it. And I'm definitely going to be making more. And in fact, here are my future sewing plans. I told you that. I definitely want to make that. I really do want to learn to make some culottes, like maybe some Winslow culottes or something. I don't like making pants for myself. I shouldn't say that because I've only made 1 pair of pants for myself, but they horrifically did not fit. And that's frustrating. Because apparently, ready to wear pants, I wear a 20 or a 30, but sewing pants, I wear like a 47. I don't even know. Got some legs. So that skirt's in my future. And I bought this midi dress pattern. This is another style arc, the Montana midi dress pattern. But now I think I just want all of these fancy dresses. I think I'm a designer dress lady now. I don't even know if I'm going to make this other dress. I'm loving my Sydney designer dress. But then I do also want to make this blouse. It's called the Bonnie Woven Top. And it's like a button down the back tunic or tank. I totally want to make that too. So those are my sewing plans for the future. Okay, I think I've talked enough. Anyway, so I'll work on getting you a crochet tutorial, and I'll work on giving you a garden tour and making some grow bags. I got those made for you too to show you how to make a grow bag. And I should probably do that pretty soon since it's time to plant some stuff. Maybe I'll do the first. Whatever. That's coming. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to do that not this week, but next week, because by then I should be done with my pre-orders. Which means I'll be done with my pre-orders by next week if you ordered a National Parks bag. Ding! Those are coming to you soon. Hopefully. Anyway. Yeah, that's all. Fleeces. So cool. I will talk to you next time. Bye.